and jelly spoons to Kohigh Mathy's YouTube channel, the place for retro video games and British accents. With me, as always, here at the Orbital Broadcast Bunker, Britain's first and only airborne subterranean studio, is Pat White Muffin.
Ah yes, Pat White Muffin here. Now I have to say, where the hell have you been, Kohigh lad? Where have you been?
You feeling alright, Pat? Didn't quite see myself there, lad. Rough day at the office?
Well, lad, I tell you something. I've got a wart on my bum the size of an egg, and I've had a lot of pain in it, and it's been hard work. Hence why I'm getting a bit grey in the old beard over here, and my accent is changing all the time, lad. It's changing all the time. I don't understand what is going on.
It's a new shirt, isn't it? That's what it is.
But there's no bubbles in this thing, I tell you.
No, obviously it isn't, Pat White Muffin. I am joined today by N-Gage from N-Gages Final Round.
Hello guys, welcome to another Fighters Friday. Today we've got the awesome Android team, so Team Androids today.
Hello everyone, I'm N-Gage, it's good to see you. Oops, still got the glasses on. And yes, I'm N-Gage. Thank you very much for being here. And yes, thank you for having me on the channel today, Kohigh. I'm really excited to be here.
Cracking. Today we're going to go through N-Gage's top 5 fighting games of all time, according to N-Gage.
So coming in at number 5, as Kohigh will know, I've debated this back and forth for about 5 weeks. I'm going to go with Drummond. Injustice 2, released in 2017.
What do you want, Damien?
You to leave this planet.
Big words for a little bat.
Begin.
Injustice 2 is a fighting video game based upon the DC universe. It is developed by NetherRealm Studios and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. It is a sequel to the 2013 game Injustice Gods Among Us. The game was initially released in May of 2017, with an expanded version of the game entitled Injustice 2 Legendary Edition released in March of 2018. A companion mobile app was released for Android and iOS devices, and a prequel comic book series of the same name was written by Tom Taylor and released at the beginning of April 2017. Them's the facts. Now, why did you pick Injustice 2?
Because it brought two worlds I absolutely love. First, you've got effectively the studio that brought you Mortal Kombat, and you've got DC. Now, controversial, but I prefer DC to Marvel. I know, right? So I just do. It's how I've always been. I do apologise. I know people are going to hate me for that, but I just think the fighting was amazing, sped up, faster than the other Mortal Kombat games. I just love the whole storyline. When I first plugged that in, put it into the PS4, I thought I was watching a movie. I just couldn't believe how amazing this storyline was. In fact, out of the 5 games I'm going to go through, I think it's got the best storyline. I just think it's amazing. The fighting, the online, it kind of brought in this whole thing now that Mortal Kombat has taken on, which is the online world where you go to a different planet and you have to complete the tasks to get certain skins and things like that for certain characters. And yeah, and that's kind of continued now into MK11, and I'm sure they'll keep that going forward. I have so many great memories with the game, and Supergirl, because of this game, became one of my favourite superheroes, even if the TV show is not very good.
Supergirl wins.
Okay, so this is going to be a bit controversial for anyone that likes this series, but I'm going for King of Fighters 94, released in
1994.
1994.
England.
The King of Fighters 94, released by SNK for the Neo Geo-based arcade system in 1994, is the first in the King of Fighters series. The game is also released for the Neo Geo home console system, including a Neo Geo CD version. In 2008, King of Fighters 94 was one of 16 games included in SNK's Arcade Classic Volume 1 for the PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable and Wii. King of Fighters 94 is a crossover featuring characters from SNK's fighting game properties Fatal Fury and The Art of Fighting. It also includes revised versions of characters from their pre-Neo Geo games, Akari Warriors and Psycho Soldier, as well as original characters created specifically for the game.
So a lot of games, when I look back, they tend to be in my childhood. Every game that I look at and I think, oh yeah, that was brilliant, brings me back to a time. So we were a weird family. My dad, we did have, the SNES, we had the Mega Drive, we had the PS1, all these things during the 90s and so on. But we also had this games console that none of my friends had ever heard of called the Neo Geo. And on the Neo Geo was so many amazing fighting games, which we're going to come to later. And this was one that we had. It was in a huge box, big massive case that you put in. It was like an arcade cabinet. And I just remember playing this game to death. It was in a time where your teams were set. You didn't get to choose your team as such. They were kind of separated in categories. So you had England, America, etc., etc. And you had to choose those 3 fighters that were representing that country. I just thought it was amazing. I've got so many memories. I have to embarrassingly admit that one of my first crushes was in the King of Fighters series, as it was technically in the Art of Fighting series, which is Yuri. I have to admit that because it's the truth. Out
of all of the people from the King of Fighters series, Yuri's the one you went for.
Yes. So I think it's because my brain cell as a young boy was, she was the most relatable. Like King and people like that were like your mum when you were, and like in the nicest way. But when you're like 6, 7, 8 years old,
Okay, fair
they're
enough.
quite they represent women.
Yeah.
But whereas when you're that age, Yuri was kind of like, she could be like, I'll put it this way, one of my other crushes at the time was the Pink Power Ranger.
Okay.
Right? And to me, they're quite similar. They're not seen as adults for that age, but if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's what I did when I was that age.
Oh, right,
that
okay.
age.
That,
right?
yeah, that.
So I have to admit that was one of those moments, as embarrassing as it was, and obviously, as we just said. But yeah, I mean, for me, King of Fighters 94. I think the better game is King of Fighters 98. 100%. It's got more characters. Again, you can change your teams and so on and so forth. But as I say, for me, whenever I think about a King of Fighters game, I always think about King of Fighters 94. I know this is normally a retro channel, so I don't think this game, like Injustice 2, will count. And I did switch back and forth on this with another title from the same series, but I'm going to have to go with Dragon Ball FighterZ, released in 2018.
What a surprise. Dragon Ball FighterZ, a 2.5D fighting game developed by Arc System Works and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. Based on the Dragon Ball franchise, it was released in most regions in January of 2018 and Japan the following month. Dragon Ball FighterZ involves the player picking a team of 3 playable characters and a unique asset for each, then fighting an AI or human opponent with their own team of 3 characters.
For me, this game is amazing because I feel like when I'm playing it, I'm also watching the anime. There's a whole bunch of characters from Super, which I actually don't dislike GT. I just want to put this out there. A lot of people hate GT. They think it's terrible. Now, I think it is pretty not good.
Yeah.
But
Was it you that said you didn't have to watch like the first
15-ish
like,
episodes, I think. Personally, no, I don't. You could literally in one episode say, they're getting the Dragon Balls and they're going across the universe to do it.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, here's Baby.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But Baby is such
You'd
an
missed
epic...
the Lord Lude advert. Episode.
Yeah, that's...
Episode,
yeah. For me, they've got, from GT, you do have Sin Shenron and Baby, for me, who are both brilliant. I really enjoyed those art.
Yeah.
But the reason I didn't go with Budokai 3, okay, so I made Kohigh get Budokai 3 out in preparation for this, but I went with FighterZ because I just feel that Budokai 3 was great, and I've got a lot of memories with that. I went around to a friend's house a lot to play that game. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. However, I feel like I've spent a lot of hours on FighterZ. Kohigh will know this to be very true. I play it online loads. I love the fact that one thing Budokai didn't have, whether you agree with DLC or not, is the fact that when like the Broly movie came out, they then said, let's get Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta and the new Broly in this. And it was like, oh yeah, that would be great. And we've got the brilliant new character of Android 21, who I think is a fantastic character. And not to give you any spoilers, disappointed me when they did not appear in Dragon Ball Super Hero.
Yeah.
I was a bit gutted about that, I'm not going to lie. However,
She got a mention, didn't she? She's on
the screen, like, and I wondered, are they trying to portray her as Dr. Giro's wife?
Yeah, I think they are.
And I was like, no,
Yeah.
see, I didn't like that. But that was me, you know, anyway, that's a side note. But yeah, I just
So
think,
tune in for our Dragon Ball Z podcast that will be...
where we'll be talking about everything wrong with Dragon Ball Superhero, but they got more right in my opinion. But even so, so Dragon Ball Fighters for me gets it because animation's amazing, the fighting's amazing, and it's the same studio who brought us Guilty Gear Strive and all the other obviously Guilty Gear games. And when Guilty Gear Strive came out, that was the first Guilty Gear game I actually brought because of Fighters, and I still, sorry about this, still think Fighters is better for me personally. But that's why Fighters is my third, because it's the game I always play.
Yeah.
So my number 2 pick went back and forth a long time with this, annoyed him a lot with this because I kept sending this back and forth and changing, but I settled on an absolute classic, which is Capcom versus SNK 2.
This battle is about to explode. Fight!
Capcom vs SNK 2, Mark of the Millennium 2001, known in Japan as Capcom vs SNK 2, Millionaire Fighting 2001. It is a sequel to the fighting game Capcom vs SNK, and it was originally released on Naomi hardware in arcades. As in the original, players select a team of fighters from various Capcom and SNK games, then fight other teams, winning each battle by defeating all opponents on the other team. The console version of the game was first released in Japan for the Dreamcast and PlayStation 2, just a month after the initial arcade release. Players from both platforms could compete against each other online, making Capcom vs SNK 2 the first game ever to support cross-platform play between two competing games consoles. The PlayStation 2 version would be released a bit later on in other regions, but without online support. The GameCube and Xbox received an updated version titled Capcom vs SNK 2 EO, with EO standing for Easy Operation, referring to the game option intended for novices to the game. PS2 version was later released as a downloadable PS2 Classic on the PlayStation 3.
Hey.
So tell us, why Capcom vs SNK 2?
The better question, why not? And why is this technically not number 1? So this game is just insane. So imagine growing up being N-Gage, okay? Not only were you batting women off left, right and centre, okay? Not only was you getting A's and B's at school, right? As you can probably tell, this is a load of rubbish, right? But you loved Street Fighter and you loved SNK games. I'm not going to say the SNK game because that's going to be my number 1, okay? And all these characters come together in this, okay? Now, controversially, that's why I like games like Street Fighter X Tekken, which gets lambasted, right? However, this game is just insane. The roster size is incredible.
Yeah.
You get to play as my favourite fighting game character of all time. Do you know who that is?
Is Yuri in it? Hang on.
It's not Yuri. It's not Yuri, I can tell you that much. All I can tell you is you get to play as my favourite fighting game character of all time. Which is, I'll give you a clue, they were in Tekken 7 as a DLC.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm talking about Mr. Geese Howard, alright? Now that guy is insane. Okay, I don't know what it is, we'll talk about this later, but Geese Howard is just insane. And you get to mix up Geese Howard, you could be on a team with Ryu, with Ken, with Bison, Kuma, you could have him with Terry, Joe, Andy, Kim, all these different characters, and it was just insane. It was like they went, King of Fighters 94, oh, you like King of Fighters, do you? Well, this is what we're going to do better, and we're going to give you Capcom vs SNK 2, right? I mean, obviously there's Capcom vs SNK 1, but 2 just took it to the next level, okay? So if you've never seen this game before, or played it, go on YouTube. This guy's going to have to do a playthrough of it, okay? And you are going to have to watch that game, because as you can tell by my voice, that game was just next level. I love it so much.
It is banging, and indeed Yuri is in it. So
Yuri is in this game. You need to play it.
I'm also going to go. This is just a bit of. I bought this game pre-owned, not long after it came out, for $14.97. Yeah, I'm going to put on screen now how much it is if you want to buy it from CEX. I'm going to reckon it's more.
I would hope it's more. I hope it's a mortgage more. That game is something else.
Before we announce N-Gage's top spot, here are a few honourable mentions.
Oh, this is bad. I'm not being funny, but if you lose a match like this, it makes you fall out of love with fighting games a little bit. Do you think?
Tekken 3.
Round 1. Fight.
Now this game again for me, unbelievable. And again, I remember going around to a friend's house, cracking out the PS1, getting Tekken 3 out, and you got to play as dinosaurs. You got all that. I think that's the first one with Devil Jin in it. Oh no, it has Jin in it. I don't know if it's Devil Jin, but you got all the Devil genes and all that. I think you play as Ogre and all these things. So it really starts to take Tekken into where it starts to go. Tekken 3 is, in my opinion, probably the best 3D fighting game for me. And then my other honourable mention, as I said, I'm a wrestling enthusiast. I love me some wrestling, right? SmackDown, here comes the pain. What a game. Again, like Dragon Ball FighterZ, where I say I've sunk hours into this game. I mean, Dragon Ball FighterZ I've sunk hours in on multiple consoles. Here Comes the Pain was a PS2 game. I honestly think I must have had to buy another PS2 because of that game. I was obsessed with it. They had the My GM mode, season mode, you could get your mates round, have Hell in a Cells, all these different things, and it was just, unbelievable. So for me, they are my two, I'm only going to do 2 honourable mentions. Top spot, I debated amongst 3 different titles for this, all from the same franchise. But I'm going with the OG. I'm going with Fatal Fury. Oh, what a game. Released in 1991.
Terry Bogard versus Andy Bogard.
Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, known as Garo Densetsu Shukame no Taketai, Hungry Wolf Legend, The Battle of Destiny. It is a head-to-head fighting game released by SNK for the Neo Geo arcade system and home platforms. Fatal Fury was SNK's first fighting game for the Neo Geo system and serves as the inaugural game in their Fatal Fury series, as well as being the first game to depict the fictional King of Fighters tournament, which became the basis for their later King of Fighters games. The game was developed by former Capcom employee Takashi Nishiyama, the creator of the original Street Fighter. Many of SNK's mainstay characters, including the Beauregard brothers Terry and Andy, friend Joe Hagashi, and their nemesis Geese Howard, made their debut in this game.
Fatal Fury is the game that I would get up before. Bearing in mind, if none of you will know who I am, right? I used to get up.
They should do, because they all should have been checking out N-Gage's Final Round when I've been telling them to, right? If you haven't been,
right? Well, N-Gage. Hang on, you're making me talk about Final Round.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I used to get up before school to play this game. I used to love it. One thing for me, I love music. Music is one of my biggest passions in life, and the soundtrack to this game, it's just insane. I still stand by, controversially, that it is the best fighting game soundtrack. Okay? And also, you only get to play as 3 characters, Terry, Joe or Andy. You've got the best final villain of all time, Geese Howard for me. Okay, again, it's just my opinion. Okay, beat me up in the comments if you must below. But it genuinely is, for me, the best, because it's what started my love of fighting games. Without that game, maybe it would be Street Fighter 2, or maybe it would be, something else like Tekken 1 or whatever. But for me, this game is what started the downward spiral of my love for fighting games. It is just unbelievable. I could talk about it forever, and I'm not going to. But if you get a chance, go YouTube, do anything what you can, find it. It's on, you know, if you've got a Switch, all of them are on there. Please try them out. Honestly, even today they stand up, in my opinion, as really strong fighting games, especially if you go for 2 or 3. But yeah, Fatal Fury for me, hands down, the Don of fighting games.
Okay, well, thank you for taking us through your top 5 fighting games of all time, N-Gage. If you want to check out more of N-Gage, you can no longer see N-Gage on N-Gage's Final Round, but where else might we be able to find you?
You will be able to find me. I've got, well, my official name is Nathan Hart. So, Nathan Hart Music, if you want to see anything on my YouTube channel there for music. There might be a time where N-Gage's Final Round does come back. And when that moment happens...
Heard it here first, people.
When that happens, this guy is going to announce it with me, and it will happen. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot, guys.
See you later.